Hey guys, it's Bo from Non-Toxic Gamers. How you guys doing? And today on the channel we've got Spackman from Spackman Gaming. How you doing, man?
I'm well. I'm well. I'm cold.
How's life down under?
It's very cold.
Very cold.
I don't like the cold.
Yeah. We almost broke 100 degrees Fahrenheit over the weekend, so it was rather warm here. So.
Yeah, I converted that, and I was mightily impressed. That's even warm for me, and I like the heat.
Yeah. So I'm glad you reached out or answered my reach out, whichever way that happened. I've been enjoying the content that you've done on the Rift of Raigard so far. So guys, Spackman has his own channel. It's Spackman Gaming. Go find it. I'll put a link in the dooley-doo down there, and you guys can go subscribe to his channel. He's got a lot of opinion type videos out, like what do you want to see? Then we're going to talk about some of that stuff later. But for right now, Jake just did a live stream today, just out of the blue, not announced, and I thought it was really cool because you did an interview on your channel with both Jake and Bato, which was a two-part interview. They answered a lot of questions. Really good, guys. If you haven't watched those two videos, go watch them. Ended up being probably an hour of just back and forth total, which was great. And
very lucky.
Yeah. But Jake's a good guy. I've reached out to him and just asking dumb questions, and he's always answered me. So, but what they talked about today was the ranking system they're going to use for doing wars, which is really interesting to me, because the war part of Rift is one of the things that I'm really interested in, and that's one of the things that our gaming group, the Non-Toxic Gamers, is really interested in, because we like that part of the games where it's a cooperative, team war versus this group versus that group, right? But that's always been a problem in a lot of the other games because of mismatches. So he said they're going to use an ELO type system, which I think is great. It sounds like he's given it a lot of thought, and so, and I don't know if you guys don't know what the ELO ranking system is. It was developed by this Danish guy whose last name was ELO. ELO, just Google it. ELO ranking system, and it's a mathematical formula that says if two players are evenly ranked, then if they play each other 100 times, then this one should win 50 times and this one should win 50 times. But if they're not evenly ranked, the higher ranked player should win more often, but if the lower ranked player pulls an upset, then they get more. And I'm guessing they're going with skill points based on what Jake's video said. They're going to have skill points, and I don't know if we're going to see skill points or if that's just a number in the background that they use for ranking. But because he never really did indicate one way or the other.
No, I love stats and tables, so I would love to have that somewhere, even if it's not in game. Maybe if they have like a website with in-game information, I would. Just because it's what floats my boat. I am a maths guy. I really enjoy that stuff.
Yeah. So it would be nice to see, like, maybe on your player profile page, you just see, how many skill points you have. I know there will be some sort of way that you can tell how far away you are from the next person, the person above you, or how far ahead you are of the person below you, and climbing the ladders and stuff. But I don't know if the number they're going to use to do the ranking is the same number that we're going to see in the game, and they probably don't know themselves. But it is different than the trophy system, which is a clear distinction. The problem that I had with using, if it's a true ELO system, is that in a true ELO system, sometimes there is it discourages people from attacking, because if they get a high rank, they want to protect it, and one of the ways to protect your rank is just to not attack anybody, because if you don't attack anybody, you can't lose any points, right? So hopefully he's got that figured out, because I know a little while ago Wizards of the Coast switched the Magic of the Gathering from an ELO system to a different system that they developed called the Planeswalker Points, which is, and it was for that reason. People would play and they would get really highly ranked, and then they would just stop playing because they wanted.
So, is this the card game or a computer version of?
It's both, actually.
So the computer version of the card game.
There's a Magic Arena. There's a mobile game version of the card game. Yeah. So, hopefully Jake's figured that out. One of the questions that came up, and he didn't really answer it fully. He did kind of address it, but it was like the win streaks. Will win streaks be figured into the ranking? And I think what they were getting at was like in other games, like Clash Royale is one, where you play Clash Royale and you get 3 or 4 wins in a row, and it progressively matches you with a higher skilled opponent until you lose, right? You hit that wall and then you lose, and win, and lose. I don't think it's going to be that way. That wasn't the impression that I got. What do you think?
I haven't had a look at it as much as I would have liked to, because it is so fresh and we'd already planned to come together for this, which was great timing for us.
Very much so.
To really, it's clever. To really figure out the ins and outs of the video. So I'm trying to sort of remember it all. I don't think that the points in general are going to matter too much in terms of glory, I guess, because Jake was talking about how they're not, they'll maybe apply some rewards to it, but it sounded as if they're not going to be to the extent that people are going to really try and falsely boost their rank up here and there.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, similar to the Wizards of the Coast scenario, for me, and I haven't thought about this properly enough, and there probably are some solid reasons, I don't see the point in people trying to, cheat or manipulate their way up the ranking system, because if all of a sudden they don't play or they end up really high, whenever they do find matches, they're either going to get obliterated or they're not going to play. They're not going to be able to enjoy the game. So I'm sure there's more to it I'm missing, but it feels like it would balance itself out in a way for anyone who does try to manipulate it, unless there are some other rewards attached to it.
Yeah, and he did kind of indicate that a lot of games are like, the higher ranked you are, the more you get rewarded, once you reach this rank. And he did say he was going to try to reward players, but I don't think it's going to be the ranking from the battle or the reward from the battle based on the ranking. It sounded like it was more of a, you've reached this tier of player, therefore you get, X, and then you reach the next tier and you get X plus Y kind of thing, right? Yeah. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So if you do get matched up with a higher ranked player and you happen to win, you pull the upset and you win, you get a big chunk of whatever it is. But if you lose, and you're expected to lose, then you don't lose a big chunk. You just lose a little bit and they gain a little bit because they should have won, right? But if you win, you get a big chunk and they lose a big chunk. So what he was talking about, doing a dip, in other games that I've played that have a war, like a war waiting or whatever, it would be like a 20-person war team, and 10 of them would be max castles, and the other 10 would be like level 1 people, so that the overall weight was in the middle. And then they got matched up with people that were like, just all over the place. So it sounds to me like he's addressing that, which is good, because that's very annoying, and it made...
Yeah, definitely. And I think just one last thing in terms of manipulating, you're only going to be able to push yourself up falsely to a certain point, because eventually, with the way the ELO system generally works, you're going to have some people at that same level to help boost you even higher, realistically. And for those at the very top of the game, if they do stop playing, if you're number one and you just stop playing, well, then potentially that is an issue because you're number one.
Yeah.
And I think maybe at a certain point, if you're at a top 50, 10, 100, 1,000, whatever, if you don't do so many attacks or wars within a given period, maybe you leak a bit of your points effectively as a way to encourage consistent play.
Yeah, I'm sure he's thought about all that. So because Jake is not an inexperienced person at playing war games or alliance games.
Doesn't seem like it.
So that kind of leads me to my next question for you specifically is why Rift of Raigard? What was it that attracted you to the game and actually want to be a content creator and do this type of stuff?
So I first heard of Rift of Raigard. I think it was probably once the actual there was like a 3-minute something 3 to 4 minute video just titled Rift of Raigard that was put out last year, and I think that was my first sort of glimpse into it. So I wasn't following it then. I was subscribed to Jake, but it wasn't coming up at the feed due to YouTube. And so once I saw that, I was just like, oh, that's interesting. And I've scouted out Kickstarter when it came out, and I was wondering for a while if I actually wanted to go into it because family at home. I wanted to get into beta if I was going to do it. This is talking about playing. This wasn't even considering content creation at that time. And eventually I decided, look, why not? This sounds interesting enough. And I think the key things that really interested me from it were the fact that you can play whenever you want. Mm-hmm. I think that's fantastic. The no cook time, the no cost features, because for me, I play Clash of Clans. That's been the main mobile game I've been playing for years and years now. I'm almost to max town or 12, and I use the one army all the time purely because I don't like having to constantly cook armies for custom bases to then practice them because it takes so much time. So, I'm a hella strong and competent at I am at war and diversifying that, which is the standard, lava loon for those that follow. But in terms of the other game, like the other strategies, I didn't really venture into them because I'd have to tweak so much all the time. And it just wasn't fun to do that, to wait.
Right. No,
so that was a key.
Yes, I don't know that I've played. I don't know that there's a game I'm playing right now that has no cook time for troops or instant army build type of thing. It's always you can do it, but it costs some sort of like in-game currency to just rush that troops so that you can just go do the next attack. Which is the slowdown, right? That they try to build into the game, so that it's like, oh, you've done your 6 attacks. You now have to either spend this in-game currency to do more attacks, or just wait, right? Part of the monetization scheme. I like the fact that Jake's talking about having. If you go back and you watch the videos that some of the other guys did, where they talked about and Jake himself, you'd be able to have like the carts, right? That are used to bring the gold back. You got 5 of them, and once those 5 carts are busy, you can still go play. You're just not going to get the reward for whatever that was. But if you want to just go play because you like to play and attack people, you can do that.
That's right.
And which is awesome, And I really enjoy that.
I know. I mean, like, I was just thinking, sort of, I guess, more on the answer. I've just come back from work, everyone. So, the fact that you can experiment and be so versatile in everything you do in the game, I think is fantastic. I love the uniqueness of the skins, the various factions, and awesome. The customization. I love it. I think that's brilliant. And I'm someone who likes lore and campaign. I mean, we've got like 4 bloody shelves of fantasy sort of books behind me, half of which I've read half a dozen times. So I love sort of lore and those sort of worlds and such. And the fact that this seems to be so comprehensive and detailed is something that really interests me. And I think the more I was thinking on it, thinking back to when Jake was doing his videos for Clash of Clans, I really just enjoyed his content and his take on things. The fact that he was, honest about things, and the reason he left is because nothing was happening.
Right.
And I just felt that he was very honest in his venture, and it would be worth getting involved in.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. Very cool. And so your background is Clash of Clans playing. You said you're almost Town Hall 12, so that's a significant investment of time.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I've had a lot of spare time in the last couple of years. So with 2 little girls and being a stay-at-home parent. So that's
nice.
That's definitely helped the grind. But yeah, so for the last 3 or 4 years, I've been really heavily into mobile games, largely that, but I have dabbled in other things like almost everything Supercell's put out, as well as another couple bits and pieces here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day, probably the first game I can think of that I really got into would have been like StarCraft back in the day, which is a base builder game in itself.
Yeah.
And has, in my opinion, some pretty decent lore as well attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's, what sort of started it all. But I've played a number of things over the years. I've played some shoot 'em ups. I love MMORPGs and games. There was a game I played there for 10 years, to be honest. I just recently finally quit because it requires a computer and kids don't allow that.
Yeah, amen, brother. Amen. Yes, that's kind of why I migrated to mobile games. I just don't have.
Yeah.
I'm not in one place for 3 or 4 hours at a time unless it's at work or sleeping. So I can't sit down and play a game that way. It has to be mobile to go with me. Which is another thing that attracted me to Rift. It was that when he talked about it's consumable in chunks, so you can play for 5 or 10 minutes and then go do something else, like real life, come back, play for 5 or 10 minutes. You don't have to constantly babysit the game 24/7.
That's what I was about to say as well. In that, when I'm playing most things, well, with Clash of Clans, because that is what I have been playing, I plan in war. I'm the guy that does spend hours scrolling through the bases, looking at the bases, planning attacks, every single troop location, trying to, be as strategic and surgical as possible. And I was also the one coordinating all of the wars because I like that organization, and that in itself took up more time. And the breath of fresh air that you could effectively do the same thing, have great wars, have competent people, do great attacks in such a consumable format is music to my ears. Having the kids, I can't put in what I used to want to put in and could put in.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Awesome. So you're still gonna releasing content up until beta comes out, and then you're in beta, right?
Once I'm in beta, I'll be putting out a lot more content, hopefully daily, but again, I'll have to find a balance. It might be at 3 to 5 to 7 days a week, maybe 8 days a week if I'm lucky.
Yeah, 8 days.
8 days a week.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, I think Jake said when they're making the game, if you shoot for the stars, you'll land on the moon. So we'll go for 8 days.
That's right.
And
awesome.
so in between, just trying to get something out in the space. A lot of people have told me they're really happy that there's something going on there, and so I'll be doing some videos in terms of actually looking at the Dunlight team themselves coming up pretty soon.
Oh, nice.
In terms of analyzing them and their background and other games and stuff they've been involved in.
Very cool. Very cool. Awesome. All right. Well, we're kind of coming up on that magic time limit where people start to drift off and fall asleep. So, but I thank you for joining me, guys. I'll have a link to Spackman's channel down in the description to make sure. Maybe I'll throw a card up here or something like that. make sure you visit there and subscribe, and especially watch those 2 videos that he did with the interview with Jake and Bato. That's awesome. So, all right, guys, that's it for me. For the non-toxic gamers, my name is Bo, and we are signing off.